Welcome to the France 24 Observers. This show is based on our network of observers. They're ordinary people who tell us what's going on where they are and send in photos and videos to document it. We check everything here in Paris and bring the best to you. We begin today with a story about prisons in Saudi Arabia from an observer who has spent time in them. As elsewhere, Saudi prisons are overcrowded. A recent video online shows a prison in the port city of Jeddah. The prisoners are virtually wall to wall. Our observer Hussein is an anti-government activist who's been arrested for protesting several times and imprisoned for as long as 3 months.
There are photographs that show some pretty rough conditions for prisoners. The lack of space. Prisoners packed into their cells. The last time I was in prison, there were 4 of us in the cell. Other cells had 5 inmates, in a space designed to hold just 1 person. The sanitation was bad too. Our day-to-day life was miserable. The food was horrible. We were treated terribly. The conditions were atrocious. The prisoners were treated like animals.
Now to Senegal, where the country is gearing up for an election. President Abdoulaye Wade is running for a 3rd term in office, even though the country's constitution, in theory, limits presidents to just 2 terms. The Constitutional Court has backed Wade's position, angering many Senegalese, especially students. Our observer Mandie Badji has been talking to them.
Things got violent when people found out about the ruling, when they heard that the Constitutional Court had approved President Wade's running for a 3rd term. There was a vehicle that belonged to the security forces. That's what witnesses said. It ran into Mamadou, a student who later died of his injuries. People were disgusted, especially other students. The next day they went out and spent hours clashing with the police. I used my web channel, Carapide, to ask students what they want. I filmed them, then put them online. People told me what they need is jobs. Jobs, that's all they want. When they finish their studies, they want a decent job that can feed their families. I don't think people in Senegal are going to go out and vote peacefully. Ever since campaigning began, there have been outbreaks of unrest all across Dakar. I'm afraid I just don't think the election is going to happen peacefully.
We'll have a special team of observers covering the election at the end of the month. If you want to get involved, send us an email. The address is senegal@france24.com. We'll be putting up a special site as well. That address is senegal.france24.com. And now for our weekly roundup of the best images and stories sent in by our observers. First stop, Hama in the north of Syria, where the walls have been covered in blood. Fortunately, fake blood. Red paint poured on the walls and streets by the city's residents. It's their way of commemorating the terrible massacre that happened there 30 years ago on the orders of Hafez al-Assad, the father of the current president. That was back in February 1982, thousands of people massacred by troops to end a Sunni uprising. The red paint is there now as a reminder of 1982, but also of the current violence taking place on the orders of the younger Assad, Bashar. Now to Algeria, which has been suffering from the same cold snap that's gripped Europe. Our observer Kader lives in the mountainous Kabylia region, where up to 40 centimeters of snow cut off many villages. In his town, Kader says, the problem is heating. People use butane gas and they have to line up for it in the cold. The same thing for food. The region is paralyzed. We hope better weather is on the way. Our last stop is on the Mexican-US border, the Great Wall of Mexico. 700 miles of steel and concrete built under a law signed by George Bush to keep illegal immigrants and drugs out of the United States. But there are ways of getting around it, or at least under it. Take a look at this video. A simple car jack is enough to raise a section of the fence to let through a load of what is probably drugs. The best thing about the technique, you can let the wall close again with no trace, so you can come back another day. That's it for this week, but you can continue to follow our observers online. Check out our website for their latest reports, our Facebook and Twitter pages, and our iPhone app. See you next time, here or online.